After we announced my pregnancy, my sister-in-law's plan to humiliate me at my husband's party backfired, landing her in jail and in a divorce. For the last 7 years, I, 29F, have been wed to Harry, except for his relationship with his sister Kayla, who brings all the negativity into our life. I enjoy everything about our marriage. Now, don't get me wrong, when I initially met Kayla, I loved her. But with time, I rapidly changed my view. She's poisonous, manipulative, and really negative. Knowing the kind of person she is, I have worked hard over the years to be on her good side. My husband dated his sister's best friend when he was 17, but they subsequently broke up since he felt under pressure to be with her because of his sister. When he turned 23 and was single, his sister said he and another friend of hers should be together, but he disagreed. She went crying to their parents about how she wanted him to wed someone she felt comfortable with, but his parents hardly listened to her throughout their great battle. While my husband and I were meeting and falling in love, his parents were quite encouraging but still always treated me coldly. She would always bring up Harry's exes for no apparent reason whenever I was present, reminding him of how well they were doing and suggesting how he could get in touch with them. This continued for some time. Harry also thought this strange and would ask her to stop bringing up his exes. I was not the only one who saw this. Then SIL would get enraged and start mocking me, claiming I was jealous and that Harry shouldn't be with someone like me. Seal would deliberately invite one of Harry's exes whenever his parents would call us for supper, saying she had inadvertently come across them that day and had to ask them politely. She doesn't follow me, but she checks my Instagram constantly as well. Since I have a public account, I observed she's usually the first person to see my stories. Should a man comment on my photograph, she would then go to her brother and grumble about how I was sharing indecent images of myself. Harry and I would actually chuckle at her claims. She persuaded Harry to split off with me when he and I agreed to live together, telling him I had many defects as a woman and that she could find someone far better than me since I had just been friendly to her all along. This comment really wounded me. Sadly, her treatment of me got even worse as soon as Harry and I were engaged. Everyone started applauding Harry and me as we revealed our engagement, but I observed Kayla was somewhat quiet, then startled everyone. She sprang up from her chair and left our gathering. Later, she called Harry sobbing and yelling about how she didn't value receiving the news with everyone else, as she felt she was the closest to him and deserved to be the first to know of his engagement. Later on, she messaged me nearly borderline threatening advising me on how I should treat her brother, as she had always been the only female in his life. I nearly shuddered over the strange message. I left her message on scene, which I know must have offended her even more, not even bothering to respond. Every time SEL saw me, she started to progressively ignore me. She stayed involved in all the wedding preparations for whatever reason, like when I went dress shopping, and had my bridal shower, though both my future mother-in-law and fiancé called her out on it several times. Her criticism of the wedding reached a whole new level. As she freely expressed her unhappiness with my decisions, her actions persisted. One day, Kayla overheard me talking about the centerpiece with my future mother-in-law. She started to make fun of me right away, stating how my decision had no class and how this was why she wanted her brother to wed someone better. For me, that was the tipping point, and I lost control. I made it plain to her that she was no longer invited to our wedding, and yelled at her that I could not stand her continual taunting and criticism anymore. She was shocked and gasping in surprise, as if she had never expected me to challenge her. Kayla was infuriated. Even my mother-in-law backed me. Later on, Kayla contacted Harry, moaning about how I embarrassed her and insisting he should control me since I would be his wife. Harry insisted strongly that he supported my choice and that she would not be invited to the wedding unless she atoned. She grudgingly texted me a sincere apology. I saw it and once more left her unread. I was already tired from getting ready for my wedding, and I wanted nothing to do with her drama. She did visit our wedding in the end, since I wanted her not to criticize us. Afterward, everyone, including the guests, seemed to have no issue following the pink tones and pastels chosen for my wedding. Sil arrived looking as though she were attending a funeral, a black floor-length gown with a veil, to put it mildly. We were stunned. She visited everyone, sharing her grief at losing her brother to another woman. My husband approached Kayla about her discomfort with her wedding attire at the reception, saying that she had the right to wear whatever she chose and that I was too domineering. She sought to portray herself as the victim when her nonstop scene-making persisted. My mother-in-law and father-in-law ultimately ordered her to leave. It was embarrassing for me. Ever since that day, I have avoided her. I forbade her anywhere near our kid. When I delivered my son Nate, she tried to oppose it, but my husband's parents had my back. They supported my choice and knew exactly why I wanted Kayla far from my infant. Sil suffered a miscarriage with her then-boyfriend Jamie 2 years ago, and it totally shattered her. That was indeed a depressing period. Given our already childbearing status, Harry and I felt bad for her. We chose to be somewhat more lenient following her miscarriage. She could connect with our kid Nate, so we would welcome her to our house. Despite her behavior with me, she has been rather lovely to our son, really shocking. She looked to have changed at first, but with time she returned to her former self. She constantly talks about how difficult her life is, how things never seem to go her way, and blames ex-friends or managers for upsetting her life. I have found over time that she is never wrong in her thinking. She is always attempting to get people on her side by playing the victim card, and hardly acknowledges any flaws in confrontations. She chose to get married this year and invited everyone except us. Given our relationship seemed to have improved, Harry was surprised to learn we were not invited. She began to explain how she wouldn't let me come since I would cause a disturbance at her wedding. When we questioned her about it, having never done anything to her, I phoned and asked her why she would think something like that. Kayla began to tell how she had deliberately dressed in all black for our wedding, so now she was worried that I might do the same, and this was why she wanted me off-site. I informed my spouse straightforwardly about how manipulative she was, outraged about it. After discussing with his parents, Harry decided to let SEL know they would neither be attending the wedding nor paying for it. This turned to tears, and she began to blame me for starting this disaster. Her husband told her she had no right to be pointing fingers at me, as she had freely admitted her own error. Kayla, however, explained her behavior by stating that I should just get over it since our wedding was long ago. Later, she contacted me to apologize and ask for forgiveness, as Phil and Mill were still not paying for her wedding. Though I hate to say it, Kayla can be quite charming and convincing when she wants something. I wanted to just move forward from the past and forgave her. Her wedding to Jamie went perfectly. We all showed up and had fun. Not even 6 months later, Kayla appeared at our door, grumbling about her marriage failing. For a few days, Harry and I let her stay with us, where she would spend endless hours venting about her husband. They appeared to be struggling to conceive, and Kayla was obviously blaming Jamie for everything. When I went to speak to Kayla, she insisted it was entirely her husband's responsibility. She would be hyper-focused on our lives and try to create problems that didn't exist when she wasn't grumbling about her husband. For instance, usually every morning before heading to work, I visit the gym. When I'm running late, I occasionally grab my work clothes so I may finish my workout, have a bath, and change into my business wear. She observed this for some time and would have many questions about it, including why I was bathing or why I even needed to visit the gym. I didn't give it much thought and would tell her how I liked keeping my weight in check and how I disliked visiting the office all sweaty. She would nod and lick her lips. Mill was telling us about a friend of hers who was divorcing right at lunch. She left her friend's spouse and grabbed half of his assets. After learning about his adultery, Kayla stopped her abruptly to ask my husband whether he and I had signed a prenup before we were married. We paused to stare at her. We stopped eating. She glanced at my husband expectantly, as if I hadn't even been there. My husband told her straightforwardly that he is not someone who minces his words, and that since we both make rather good money, we felt no need for a prenup. Sil snorted and began to say that he could be blindsided any day, and that cheats abound today. Her statements offended me. Therefore, I asked her to clarify exactly what she meant. Sil then began to remark that I was obviously meeting someone, as I was usually carrying a change of clothing everywhere, and that as Harry's sister, it was her obligation to warn her brother. These were shocking remarks for me. Fael and Mael arrived right away to stop her from continuing to fabricate such things, and advised that she shouldn't interfere with others' affairs. Without missing a beat, Sil continued to emphasize how she was only trying to be there for her brother and began to joke if our son Nate was indeed Harry's son, since he didn't quite look like him. I swear I had never seen the redness of wrath on my husband's face like that in my life. Enraged, he looked Kayla squarely in the eye. He informed her that she was not a mother yet because she did not deserve to be one, and that her child would be better off in paradise than with someone like her. Kayla's lips hung in stunned disbelief. Mill and Phil simply watched silently as my husband called Kayla a shameless person, trying to ruin everything. He told her that since her life had nothing to offer, she was merely a loser doing nothing all day while her husband worked nonstop. He kept saying that since she was plainly projecting, she should focus on her own marriage instead of pointing fingers at me and asking about prenups. Reduced to tears, Kayla began to wail, expecting comfort. She turned to Jamie, seated just next to her, but he never spoke. My husband never has this kind of mental collapse. She eventually got up from her chair and dashed into the toilet. My husband was boiling over. I stroked his hand and Emil arrived to cool him down, understanding just how annoying Kayla could be. I nodded as he apologized for what his sister had said about our son. Having taken enough from Kayla over the years, I was somewhat relieved that my husband stood up for me so publicly. He apologized to Jamie but totally ignored Kayla once he cooled off. That day, following lunch, we returned to having no interaction with Kayla. Her actions were impacting my husband in addition to me. We simply barred her from everything, so she couldn't get in touch with us. After lunch, Emil and Phil spoke with us and decided Kayla had gone too far this time. They could see how their usually quiet son had gone wild after Kayla had persisted in pushing him. We last spoke with her a year ago, and everything had been running without problems. 2 months ago, I discovered I was expecting. Given our lack of effort, this was quite unexpected. To welcome another family member makes my spouse and me blessed. We decided to let everyone know on my husband's birthday since we were waiting for the proper moment to do so. Wanting to honor Harry, Mill and Phil were throwing a great celebration in their yard. Invited were our close friends and relatives. Esiel chose to show her face after hearing about this from others. When we saw her, my husband and I staggered. Coming to hug Harry, Esiel told him how much she had missed him and how sorry she was for their last talk, taking my hand. My spouse advised his sister to be apologetic to me because she had pointed fingers at my character. Kayla nodded, looked at me, then apologized. She informed me that she had been attending therapy for the previous few months and came to see how inappropriate it was for her to treat me like that. Though I disagreed with everything she said, I nodded as I wanted to be polite to her in front of everyone. Since this was a gathering for my husband, Emil and Phil checked in on us and informed us that should we feel uncomfortable, they would kick her out, as they had no knowledge she would be arriving. Harry, however, insisted on not creating a scene, so we decided to let it go. It seemed strange as Esiel was laughing and socializing with everyone. During the celebration, she mentioned visiting a therapist, so I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, even though she appeared overly optimistic, completely not her nature. Harry spoke movingly about how he thought he was the luckiest man on earth, appreciative of yet another year spent with a woman like me. When it came time to cut the cake, his remarks made me flush with delight. As we were when we first started dating all those years ago, I couldn't help but value the fact that my husband and I were still intensely in love. Then Harry and I made the decision to let everyone know some fantastic news. Grinning, we said we were having a baby, and everyone paused to consider before yelling in delight. My mother rushed up to hug me and started to cry. Phil saluted Harry and me as tears streamed down his face. Everyone was eager to know whether we had chosen baby names and was clearly delighted for us. Kayla was the one sore thumb that stood out. She seemed stunned. Her mood changed and she simply turned away from us, appearing irritated. So I assumed maybe she was processing things slowly, though I was a little concerned, thinking she would ruin yet another party for us. I was sidetracked with other individuals approaching to chat. I got up to assist my in-laws in carrying lunch, but Rick and my parents begged me to stay seated, telling me I should not even move at this point. Harriel approached me, beaming as I was calmly waiting for my husband to bring me a meal. Lively, she said that she personally wanted to offer me dinner since she was so excited about my pregnancy. She handed me a dish. She even said, as she passed me the plate, that she wanted to make it up to me for all the times she had been nasty to me in the past. I nodded and politely accepted. She then turned to go. I was ready to start eating when I fortunately found she had put shrimp on my dish. I know I'm quite allergic to shrimp, so I was surprised Kayla even brought me this. Disappointed, I shook my head and got up to get my own lunch. Jamie approached me at that point to wish me well on my pregnancy. After a little conversation, he asked me why I hadn't been eating. Jamie reassured me not to worry and removed the dish from my hands after I pointed out how Esiel had served me shrimp, probably by error, since he enjoyed eating shrimp. He told me he could have that dish and I could get a fresh plate for myself. I nodded, grinned, then turned aside. Not even 5 minutes later, Jamie began to puke and retch across his dish. Concerned, everyone stopped eating and watched him stagger to get out of his seat. Worried, Harry and Kayla hurried towards him. Jamie gestured at his plate, then at his throat. Our eyes grew wide with amazement as we realized what he had eaten. Something was definitely wrong with him. Jamie passed out, and everyone gasped in amazement and worry. Kayla hurried over to examine his dish, and her eyes grew shocked. She turned to stare at me and inquired whether I had handed her husband my plate. I nodded. Someone called for an ambulance amid the tumult, and he was rushed to the hospital. Through all of this, Kayla was sobbing nonstop and staring angrily at me. Jamie had been poisoned. We were told later on that the plate originally belonged to me. I nearly passed out upon hearing this. Whatever Jamie consumed may have poisoned my baby and me. Not yet known to Harry, Mil, Phil, or my parents is this, since nobody knew what was in the food he consumed that had caused him to faint in this manner. The police were summoned to gather evidence from it. Jamie is still in recovery in the hospital. While I'm typing this, Kayla stayed with him overnight. Relatives keep calling to find out what happened to Jamie and who might have poisoned him. My husband and I have been fielding calls. What has transpired has shaken Emil and Efil so badly that they are sleeping over at our house since they are terrified to return to theirs. Nobody knows what happened so abruptly while everything was going so nicely. Telling everyone that the plate originally belonged to me and how Kayla had come and presented it to me makes me terribly afraid. Should this evolve into an inquiry? I will have to tell the cops the truth, though. Most importantly, I am now rather concerned about what my SIL could do to me. I feel quite awful about what has transpired. I don't want to be around her, nor can I bring my kids anywhere close to her, as she obviously has no restraint when it comes to trying to poison me. I feel bad about handing Jamie my meal and possibly contaminating him. I do feel somewhat accountable for what happened to him. I should have simply thrown the dish away. I'm not sure why I let him take it from me. I keep crying about his future, knowing something is terribly wrong. My husband has been hovering close to me, though he doesn't know what I know about his sister. He believes I'm only worried, and I agree with the remarks saying I should sit down and gently talk to everyone, although I'm not sure if anyone will believe me. Emil and Phil do have security cameras all around their house. Given that this birthday celebration took place in their backyard, I am confident they could check and confirm via their cameras that Kayla presented me with the plate. I plan to speak with everyone that night and then update them. We sat down together, and I'm very happy to have the nicest in-laws on the planet. Mill and Phil were already staying over with us, so I sat down with Harry and them over dinner to let them know I had something crucial to share. I began by taking a deep breath, the weight of the situation slumping on my shoulders. Everyone gathered around. I recounted the birthday party events, including how SEL had handed me a plate of prawns and how Jamie had unintentionally eaten from it, causing his sickness. Their shock and disbelief reflected my own as I spoke. Mill and Phil looked at each other, clearly worried. Harry's face transformed from uncertainty to rage. I went on to express my concern about SIL's intentions and her past attempts to hurt me. Faced with the possible repercussions for myself and our unborn child, I hesitated to share these details. Being the pragmatic woman mother-in-law is, she immediately advised that we look at the security camera footage given the gravity of the matter. Father-in-law nodded in agreement. Though clearly offended and shocked, Harry stayed quiet to process the startling revelation. Reviewing the security footage from their camera app, the truth was indisputable. The video showed sister-in-law presenting me with the poisoned plate, and then what followed causing Jamie's suffering. The weight of the evidence left no room for doubt. As the reality sank in, emotions ran high. Now totally aware of his sister's malicious intent, Harry battled to control his rage. Mother-in-law and father-in-law were horrified by their daughter's actions and stunned at the lengths she had gone to create chaos. We all tried to figure out why she would act in such a manner. Given how serious the situation was, my in-laws decided to forward the material to the police. Since Jamie was the one directly harmed, he would have to file the official charges against sister-in-law. Father-in-law and my husband plan to meet him once he recovered. I want to cry every time I think about how I let Jamie have my poisoned dish. I have no idea how he will react. I'm very anxious about him and can barely eat or sleep. Right now, I'm a pregnant woman dealing with so much. First things first, she was detained after the proof was shown. My in-laws handed the recording to the police, and Kayla admitted everything right away. She didn't even try to dispute the claims. She broke down crying. Jamie was as shocked as any of us. When my husband approached him about what had happened, he told Jamie that he would always be part of our family regardless of what he decided to do. My husband also advised him to press charges against his sister since what she did was such a wicked thing. Once Jamie recovered, he not only chose to press charges but also filed for divorce. Emotional and begging everyone to forgive her, Kayla called mother-in-law and father-in-law. As it turns out, Kayla is pregnant herself. She tried to manipulate them by saying they should help her for the sake of their granddaughter, begging them to bail her out. Father-in-law firmly told her that she needed to take responsibility for her actions, and that they were done coddling her. Though mother-in-law is deeply saddened by what's happening to her daughter, she knows that Kayla's actions cannot simply be forgiven. The police found proof that she had tampered with the meal intended to harm me, which backfired and hurt her husband instead. She's been charged with several offenses, including endangering life, causing bodily harm, and tampering with food. Despite this, she continues to say it was all my fault. Kayla has been pleading with Jamie not to proceed with the charges, but thankfully, Jamie's mind is set on holding her accountable. Her court hearing began shortly after, and I doubt she can escape justice this time. My son and I are doing okay, for everyone who's been asking. He's clueless about what his aunt did. Harry and I have decided that when he's older, we'll sit down and tell him the truth. It will be a difficult but necessary conversation. As instructed by my doctor, I've been getting regular ultrasounds every 2 weeks. We want the baby's gender to be a surprise. My parents have been extra protective of me, especially after learning what Kayla did. They're urging me to go to therapy, worried that this trauma could affect my mental health during pregnancy. I agree with them. While I try to behave normally, I now have a deep-rooted fear of eating anything I haven't cooked myself. My husband understands this and has been helping me work through it with patience and support. The last update I received, about 8 months later, is that Kayla is still in prison. She was found guilty on all charges. Though I never attended her court hearings, my in-laws would occasionally tell me what happened. Kayla eventually confessed in court, admitting years of jealousy toward me. She said she had always dreamed that one of her best friends would marry her brother, so when he started dating me, she felt bitter and excluded. When we announced my pregnancy at Harry's birthday, the same day she was planning to announce hers, she felt we had stolen her moment. Consumed by jealousy and fueled by pregnancy hormones, she admitted that she mixed a small amount of rat poison into my food. She said she only wanted me to end up in the hospital, not to physically harm me or the baby. She begged for a reduced sentence, claiming she never expected me to give the plate to her husband. The judge, of course, denied her pleas. She was sentenced to prison and will be far from our lives for quite some time. Jamie is finally free, having divorced her. We still include him in family events whenever we can. When we spoke, I profusely apologized for handing him my plate. He reassured me it was never my fault, though I had replayed it over and over in my mind, wishing I could have done things differently so he wouldn't have suffered. Hearing that he's doing well now makes me happy. As for Harry and me, our family now includes a beautiful baby daughter. Her presence has filled our lives with warmth and light, helping us move past the shadows of the past. Our son Nate loves being a big brother, and seeing our children together makes us appreciate life even more deeply. My parents and in-laws have been there for us every step of the way, guiding us through this new chapter. Thank you for reading. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do for more stories like this.